In 1921, a Black Wall Street millionaire named O.W. Gurley watched his empire burn to the ground. The flames weren't an accident. They were lit by a white mob, armed with dynamite, even dropping firebombs from airplanes. You've probably never heard his name, and that's exactly what they wanted. Because if you knew Black Americans had built wealth and empires while your great-grandparents couldn't even vote, it would shatter everything you thought you knew about history. Today, I'm going to explain the stories of 7 Black millionaires who were erased from history, and why their legacy matters more than ever. Let's start with Madam C.J. Walker, born Sarah Breedlove in 1867 to parents who had been enslaved. Orphaned at 7, married at 14, widowed at 20, with a young daughter, she had nothing but her determination. Walker developed hair care products for Black women and built a door-to-door sales empire employing thousands. By 1919, she became America's first self-made female millionaire. Not just the first Black female millionaire, the first female millionaire, period. She bought a mansion next to John D. Rockefeller's estate to prove Black excellence belonged anywhere white wealth existed. Yet, history tried to erase her. Textbooks barely mentioned her. Some credited her white lawyer instead. Her story was almost stolen from us. Before Walker, there was Annie Malone. Born in 1869 in Illinois, she built a hair care empire called Poro, employing 75,000 people worldwide. At her peak, Malone was worth an estimated $14 million. She gave millions to schools, orphanages, and civil rights organizations, generosity that made white courts and lawyers systematically drain her fortune through divorce and legal fees. By 1957, most of her wealth was gone, and her contributions were credited to others. Malone was the blueprint. Walker followed, but history buried both of them. Back to Tulsa, Oklahoma. O.W. Gurley was born in 1868, 3 years after slavery ended. He bought 40 acres in what became Greenwood, the wealthiest Black community in America, known as Black Wall Street. By 1921, Greenwood had over 300 Black-owned businesses, banks, hotels, theaters, schools, luxury cars, and multiple millionaires. Then came May 31st, 1921. A white mob attacked. Over 300 Black people were murdered, 10,000 left homeless, and 35 blocks burned. The city made rebuilding nearly impossible. Insurance refused to pay, and for 75 years, Tulsa's history was erased from textbooks. Robert Reed Church, born enslaved in 1839 in Memphis, survived a white mob attack in 1866. By 1912, he was worth over $1 million, the first Black millionaire in the South. He built saloons, real estate, and Solvent Savings Bank, one of the first Black-owned banks. Church also created Church Park and Auditorium to give Black citizens a cultural space when segregation tried to deny them access. Yet, history barely mentions him, because his wealth and influence challenged the false narrative that Black people couldn't build success themselves. Mary Ellen Pleasant, born around 1814, became one of San Francisco's wealthiest financiers. She secretly funded John Brown's raid on Harper's Ferry with $30,000, one of the largest contributions to armed resistance against slavery. She fought racial discrimination in court decades before Rosa Parks, built a real estate empire, yet white newspapers smeared her as a voodoo queen. By the time she died in 1904, history had almost erased her name entirely. A.G. Gaston was born in 1892 in Alabama to formerly enslaved parents. He built a business empire in Birmingham, insurance, funeral homes, banks, and motels. During the Civil Rights Movement, his motel became a headquarters for Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and campaign strategists. When white supremacists bombed it, Gaston rebuilt it. Black wealth wasn't just money, it was a weapon for justice. Biddy Mason, born enslaved in Mississippi in 1818, walked 2,000 miles to California. She sued for her freedom in 1856 and won. By the 1880s, she was one of Los Angeles' wealthiest Black landowners, using her fortune to uplift the community, funding schools, churches, and aiding families in need. For decades, her story was forgotten, an attempt to erase Black excellence from history. These 7 names, Madam C.J. Walker, Annie Malone, O.W. Gurley, Robert Reed Church, Mary Ellen Pleasant, A.G. Gaston, and Biddy Mason, represent just the beginning. Hundreds more black millionaires existed between 1865 and 1930, but their stories were systematically erased. They built wealth, communities, and power against impossible odds. And when the system felt threatened, it responded with violence, theft, and erasure. So remember their names. Share their stories. Learn from them. Because black excellence has always existed, and now you know the truth.